KNXX, Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2, Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers, LA 21 12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Monday. Means we're brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products. Hope your work week is off to a good start. Got Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos, and fired up that you're hanging out with us here on this Monday. Have Denton Day coming up in an hour and a half. We have Denton on because we want to talk national college football stories. I'll kind of handle the local things early on in the show on Mondays. We'll talk LSU, we'll talk Saints, we'll talk SEC. Kind of wanted to get a national perspective, so I put Denton in the second hour on Mondays. Come to find out, big Washington football team / Washington Commanders fan. And now they got a quarterback that's just straight balling, Jaden Daniels. So we're going to talk a little Jaden Daniels and some national college football with Denton Day coming up in hour number 2. Thoughts on the Saints dropping that game in Atlanta coming up in 30 minutes. My SEC picks against the spread and how those went this weekend coming up in an hour. You probably don't want to miss that. We're going to have a little bit of fun in that segment. We start with LSU and South Alabama on Saturday night in Tiger Stadium. On Friday, I kind of said, look, this is a game where LSU's the better team. They haven't played 60 minutes all year, had rough starts, had rough finishes. This is the time to go out there right before the bye and put a complete performance together. And for the most part, they did that. You could take a little bit of a pick at the beginning of the second half. Nuss throws the pick at the end of the first half. They come back out. He throws another pick. South Alabama scores. They're driving down to make it remotely interesting. But Whit Weeks comes up with the big stick at the goal line. They stop him on fourth down. They go 99 yards and score. And they salt the game away at that point. And it was 42-10 when it all was said and done. And I think that it was a solid performance from LSU. I want to start with the defense because we talked about South Alabama coming in. They're a well-coached team. Major Applewhite's called plays at an elite level at Alabama, and he's been a head coach. And he has a good offense with a quarterback that can make some plays and a big physical running back. And they were going to come in prepared. But that LSU is far superior athletically, and they should be able to put the clamps on South Alabama. But they should have been able to put the clamps on Nichols too, and they didn't. They did in the game on Saturday. I thought it was a really strong performance all the way through the football game defensively. Was it as exciting defensively as they have been at times with their pass rush and forcing turnovers and making big-time plays in the backfield? No, I don't think it was that. I just thought it was solid. I thought that LSU was where they were supposed to be. I thought they fit the run very well and didn't allow the big chunk plays that we've seen. I thought for the most part they were where they were supposed to be in coverage. There weren't busts and guys running free. Now, they've still got their issues covering. That's to me, the biggest deficiency on this team is talent in the secondary and ability to cover and break up passes. But LSU is where they were supposed to be for the entire evening. Yeah, 333 yards is not shutting down South Alabama, but 10 points is. Stopping South Alabama from breaking the 10-point barrier is impressive. And if you look at South Alabama's drive chart to start the game, 5 plays, 18 yards, punt, 3 and out. Then they go down 44 yards and get a field goal. But following that, throughout the rest of the first half, 5 plays, 6 yards, punt, 3 and out. 5 plays, 18 yards, punt. And then they go to the half. You got that stop at the goal line in the second half, and then you also forced a 3 and out where they lost 5 yards. So you were in control of that game defensively in a way that LSU hasn't really done this year. And so for me, that was encouraging. Yes, you'd like to have Harold Perkins out there. Yes, you'd like to have Jacoby and Guillory out there. Yes, you'd like to be a little bit better against the pass and not let the quarterback complete 73% of his throws on you. But baby steps here. We all understand where they're coming from, and we all have a vision for where we hope that they get, and they're just baby steps along that way. You've got to be a heck of a lot better against Ole Miss and certainly Alabama on defense than you have been, but you got to take those baby steps. And to me, I thought they looked good. I thought the linebacker play was very, very good. Greg Penn had 14 tackles in the game. 7 of those were solo. Whit Weeks was second on the team. He made 9 tackles. And then Major Burns playing the star, which is kind of what Harold Perkins' role was. He was third on the team with 8 tackles. Between those 3 guys in and around the line of scrimmage, you're talking about 41 tackles. So I thought that was solid work from that group. And the defensive line has kind of been where they're supposed to be. They're not game wreckers. They're not dominant. They're not dynamic. But they're holding their own. And I thought they did a good job against the run of not letting South Alabama get cooking. South Alabama tried to run the ball. They ran it 33 times in the game. They only ran it for 3.4 yards per carry. And they didn't really have those big chunk plays. They had, on back-to-back snaps, Kentrell Bullock had a run for 21 yards, and then he had another run for 16 yards. So that was pretty much it. They didn't have another. They had 3 runs of over 10 yards, a 12-yarder, a 16-yarder, and a 21-yarder. None of them were huge busts. None of them were game-changing plays. It was just solid. And I know that we all kind of yearn for a day where it's better than solid, where it's dominant. But you got to get there, and they're taking baby steps. You didn't really see at any point last year any improvement. It was just always bad. It was bad to start the year against Florida State. It was bad against Ole Miss in a loss. It was bad against Missouri outside of a couple turnovers late in that game, and it never really got any better. They played pretty well against Auburn, who had absolutely no chance offensively, and quite frankly, we're a year later, and they still don't have a chance on offense. They stink on offense. But LSU was bad against Texas A&M's third-team quarterback. They were bad against Alabama. It never really got any better last year, and I thought it was better on Saturday night. They're kind of finding who they want to be. And Brian Kelly said after the game, the time for kind of rolling guys in and out is over. Like, they've played 6 safeties to this point. We're going to go out there, and he said on Tuesday, because they take today off on a bye week, and it's going to be a work week, and we're going to get the guys out there that need to play in Southeastern Conference games. And so they've given a number of snaps to Deshaun Spears, to Jordan Gilbert, to Jordan Allen, to all those guys. And now it's time to decide, like, who you're going to go with, because you've got a feel for what it's going to be at the level in front of that at linebacker. You know it's going to be Penn in the 2 weeks. They played a little bit of Xavier Atkins in this game. And then you move up one level, and it's Gio Pius and Ahmad Bro in the middle. And then you've got some pretty good edge players in Savion Jones and Braden Swinson and Deshaun Womack with a little bit of Gabe Relaford mixed in there. You know what you are in the front 7. And I think those guys are playing pretty well. They're rushing the passer, and they did a better job against the run, and they haven't allowed those monster plays that plagued them against Nichols and against South Carolina. Safety, you got to figure out, and corner, you also have to figure out. You've got Ashton Stamps on one side, and you're kind of cycling guys through on the other end. You've seen a good bit of P.J. Woodland. He was announced as a starter on Saturday. You've seen some J.K. Johnson. You've seen some Jair Brown. We'll see when Zy Alexander can come back. Sage Ryan moves around. It's kind of boiling down to what is the secondary going to look like. And if you look at the Pro Football Focus grades, they're not great in the secondary, and that's not shocking. But that's kind of the missing piece to this whole thing. That's where they've got to improve. Because while I don't think Gio Paez is taking it for the second round of the draft coming up, he's held his own. Ahmad Bro is only getting better. They really like him, and I think they've got something in him. And then beyond those guys, you got some of the older guys, and then you've got McKinley. But you're not seeing big issues up front. The issues are now in the back end, and that's where they've got to clean things up. I thought the defense did a good job the majority of the game, and that was object number one. I trust the offense and what it's going to be. I'm starting to trust the front 7 a little bit more. You just got to get better in the back end, and that's what they've got 2 weeks now to get ready for, because Ole Miss is going to come in here, and they're going to chunk it around. They pretty much abandoned the run game on Saturday against Kentucky. They were just chunking it, and they're going to come in and do the exact same thing in 2 weeks. And LSU's got to be prepared for that as best they can. So, again, it's not a work of art. I'm not trying to sell you a bill of goods that this is a South Alabama team that's, a completely dynamic offense. I thought they were well coached. I thought they had some guys that can hurt you if you weren't in the right place. And for 4 quarters in that game, save maybe one stretch of about 4 minutes of game action, LSU did its job on the defensive side of the football and got out of there with a 42-10 win. I do have some takes on the offensive side of the ball. I talked about them on the post-game show on Saturday night with Brandon Taylor and Marlon Favorite, and we're going to get to those here coming up. You know what you've got in the passing game, but what is this running game, and what can you lean on? I think you're starting to figure that out a little bit, and it's pretty obvious. If you read my Pro Football piece up at Pro Football Focus piece up at LouisianaSports.net, you got a good sense of that as well. We'll talk about that when we come back on this Monday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Make LeBare's Baton Rouge your game day headquarters this season. They got the biggest screens around, and now you can bet and dine at ESPN Bet in person. Look, folks, LSU's off this weekend, and the Saints play on Monday, so Saturday and Sunday, you're free to watch whatever you want. Go to LeBare's and check it out. It's a fantastic place to watch the game, and y'all have heard me all year long tell you about the Cover 5 contest over on the Cover 5 app. You really want to get in on that now. If you didn't see my tweet, there are 107 people signed up this week. Your boy, the host, the quote-unquote expert, went 106th out of 107. Only one person was worse than me. If you can't beat that, well, then you got real issues. I think you can. Download the Cover 5 app, put in that code LABRSEC24, and compete against me. You're destined to win if I put performances up like that. If you're not a member, you can get the Pen Play app today. LeBare's Baton Rouge is your live sports headquarters. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-589-9966 for help.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
along here. Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show presented by Gulf Coast Office Products. Baton Rouge Business Report was putting together its top office products distributors. Gulf Coast Office Products, #1 on that list. No surprise. Trey Beal and his team are absolutely fantastic. All your printing needs, scanning needs, copier needs, all at one place. Gulf Coast Office Products. Check them out online, gcopnet.com, gcopnet.com. LSU got it done 42-10 against South Alabama on Saturday night. I thought the offense was very, very good. Obviously, get off to a pretty quick start. First time LSU had scored a touchdown on their first offensive snap since Dalton Hilliard against Ole Miss back in 1982. And Caden Durham takes a swing pass, and he runs it right up the right sideline. I'm sitting there in the press box, which is obviously along that sideline. And when he kind of weaved through that first level of defenders, and the blocking up front was exceptional by LSU's players on the edge. When he got through that and he saw the seam, I mean, he put it into a gear not many guys have. That was absolutely incredible to watch. I remember, and there's a clip up on Twitter now. If you look at Chris Blair and LSU Sports Radio on Twitter, I asked Dennis Shaver, the track coach who we had on a pregame show, I think it was I think it was the Nichols game, and I said, is he track fast? Like, can he run track at LSU? And he's like, yeah, he can. I don't know if he will, but he's that fast. Sometimes the football coaches have a way of keeping their football players away from the track, but he's that fast. And I said, I really just want to see him open it up and get out in some space. And did he ever there? And nobody was catching him on that run. So that was really, really well done. And then the second snap of the game for LSU, they handed it to Durham, and he busts it. I'm amazed that even with the angle, the South Alabama guy was able to run him down. But you saw the explosiveness that Durham has. And it's evident to me that he needs to be the feature back. I realize that's not breaking news here. You're talking about a guy who's making big plays almost every week. But the way that LSU's offensive line blocks, he's the best fit. Caleb Jackson simply has not been able to get ahead of steam up because there's not a big enough hole for him to accelerate through. Josh Williams has been okay, but he's not quite as dynamic as Durham. Durham's able to see the holes, to get through them quickly, and to make big plays. And he's now shown he can catch the ball on that swing pass, plus he had a catch for a touchdown in the game against UCLA that you all saw. So he's shown you everything. He can make the big play on the ground. He can catch the football. He's getting tough yards. He breaks tackles. He's scoring touchdowns. Like, he's doing everything you need. Now, I would not have told you 5 weeks ago that Caden Durham was in line to be the lead back on this team. I would never imagine that he would have gone ahead of Josh Williams and John Emery and Caleb Jackson. But at this point, I don't have a reason not to give him 70% of the snaps at running back. That he appears to be the guy that is the most dynamic and is the best fit for what they're doing on offense. In the game, he had 128 yards on the ground, including that 86-yarder. And then in the passing game, he had the 71-yarder and then a couple more catches, 3 in total for 89 yards. And he didn't play in the second half. Brian Kelly said after the game that it was a foot injury. Over at LouisianaSports.net, we reported that there were multiple toes on that right foot that were dislocated. He had to pop them right back in there on the sideline. I'm sure a little bit sore yesterday and today, but you're on a bye week, so it's okay if he can take some time out. The word that Marlon Favorite, who was doing sideline for the LSU Sports Radio Network, got was that, hey, if this is Alabama or a playoff game, they probably could have gotten him back out there with some tape that night. So no issue reportedly for Caden Durham moving into the Ole Miss game. Maybe a little bit tender early this week, maybe a couple days off of practice, but he should be good to go, and I think he needs to be the lead back for this team. Another great day in the passing game. Garrett Nussmeier throws for 409 yards and 2 touchdowns. That has become kind of commonplace. We just don't even really talk about it that much because he's throwing for that kind of yardage every single week. The 2 throws that everybody does want to talk about are the 2 interceptions. And you know that Garrett Nussmeier got the reputation early in his time at LSU as something of a gunslinger, a guy that was going to take some chances, was going to trust his arm, was going to try to make some plays down the field, and he was going to turn the ball over a little bit. And that's something that they were coaching him out of over the course of his 3 years on the bench at LSU. And through the first 4 games of the year, he'd been sensational taking care of the ball. Yes, he did make a bad decision against South Carolina and throw a red zone interception, which is tough, but that was really the only bad play he had made through 4 games. I'm not going to hold it against him that he threw that pick at the end of the USC game because LSU was in desperation mode. They were trying to run a hook and lateral. Mason Taylor didn't turn around. That wasn't a bad decision. It was just desperation time, and who cares? But these 2 throws were bad. They were bad reads. They were bad decisions. They were bad throws. And the one at the end of the first half, okay. You're kind of getting close to the end of the half. But the second one, you're in field goal range. You're going down to put this game out of reach, and there was just nothing there. I don't know what he saw. I don't know what he was looking at, but he just winged it right into a ton of traffic, and it was an easy interception for the South Alabama DB. So those two throws were bad, but outside of those two throws, he was exceptional once again. I've got a piece up at LouisianaSports.net right now that talks about all the rankings that Garrett Nussmeier has nationally through 5 games, and it's really good. His statistics are phenomenal, and I think because we've been desensitized a little bit by Joe Burrow and Jaden Daniels, we may not give it quite the appreciation that it deserves. But you're looking at a guy in Garrett Nussmeier that is tied for the league among FBS quarterbacks with 139 completions. He's 3rd in the country in touchdown passes with 15. He's 5th in the country in passing yards at 331 per game. And he and Josh Hoover at TCU are tied for the most passing attempts in college football with 199. And so you look at what LSU's bread and butter is, that's it. Their pass protection's been excellent. Their production in the passing game has been excellent, and Garrett Nussmeier's piloted this thing about as well as you could through 5 weeks. LSU's offensive line only is LSU's 4th in the country in passing attempts, and only 4 teams in the country have allowed fewer sacks. You've got Army, who runs the option, New Mexico, who's a heavy ground team, Georgia Tech, and then you got Oklahoma State, who actually throws it the most of anybody in the country, but it's such a quick passing offense, nobody's got time to get back there and sack them. But I think for LSU to be 5th in the country in sacks allowed and throwing the ball as much as they do, that's a testament to just how good the offensive line has been in pass pro. Will Campbell graded out exceptionally well in this game. Emory Jones did not have as good a day in pass protection, but Miles Frazier was excellent in pass protection as well, and that was just all on display in the game. LSU hit 11 different receivers in the game. You got Aaron Anderson involved for 6 of them. I love seeing that. He just looks like a different player. We've talked about this almost every week now, but he keeps doing it, and they tell me that he was healthy last year and that this is simply a product of him being more comfortable with the playbook and understanding where he's going to be. That is hard for me to believe because he looks so different. He's so explosive with those cuts. He's making guys miss. I mean, he was excellent in the game on Saturday. He had 6 catches for 73 yards and a touchdown. Incidentally, let me go back and talk about that touchdown because that was back-to-back throws that Nussmeier made in that drive. The first one was to Mason Taylor in a throw. There was no room to fit the ball in, and he absolutely threw a dart down the middle of the field. I was sitting next to Brandon Taylor in the press box when he made that throw, and I go, whoa, there's no window there. And he put it in there. And then the next play, he slides a little bit to his left to extend the play and throws a seed to Aaron Anderson, who cut right in front of the safety, and he makes that catch at about the 3 and goes into the end zone. That was just awesome quarterbacking by Garrett Nussmeier. And Anderson and Taylor were the beneficiary of that. Kyron Lacey had 5 catches for 107 yards in the game. Caden Durham had the big play, obviously, but he had 3 catches. Mason Taylor, 3 catches. CJ Daniels, 3 catches. Xavier Thomas, 2 catches. Juwan Johnson had 2 catches. Josh Williams, Kamorian Pimpton, and Kyle Parker all got in the mix. And I say all those names for a reason. Like, I want it to feel like there's a lot of guys that are involved in catching the football. It's a different team. It's a different animal to prepare for this team than it was last year. Last year was probably more difficult because you had the best quarterback in the country and you had 2 guys that you just couldn't cover. This year, you've got a really good quarterback who's playing as well as anybody in the country, but he is throwing it to a menu of different guys every single week. They're attacking you in the short passing game, in the intermediate passing game, and they're trying to attack you with the long passing game. They didn't quite connect on those as well in this game. Obviously, the one to Kyle Parker against UCLA was great, but they didn't do that as much in this game. I really believe that Chris Hilton can unlock that. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do Chris Hilton previews another time. Like, I can't. I've now done it for 2 weeks on this show and LouisianaSports.net, and then he doesn't play. And it's so odd to hear Brian Kelly on Thursday call a player probable and then not play him on Saturday. And he said it was a game time decision. They wanted to make sure he was 100%. But I don't remember a player being probable before and then not playing.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I do think that before the season started, we talked about Hilton and said the Ole Miss game is maybe a likely scenario that he returns for just because of the way the schedule works out. So, it sucks that we didn't get to see him, and it would have been nice because I think he would have had a great chance at blowing the top off on that South Alabama defense. But at the end of the day, if we can have him for Ole Miss, that'll be more important.
That is what they'll do. And look, this kind of put a bow on LSU and South Alabama. We'll talk Saints when we come back, and we'll do some SEC stuff at the top of hour number 2. But I said on Friday they needed to go out there and put together their best body of work thus far, get to that bye week, and get prepped for Ole Miss with all your goals still right there on the table. And to me, that's what they did in this game. They played their best game on defense. Yes, I'd rather play your best game against USC, but they did it against South Alabama. And you still played really well on offense. You went. I mean, look, offensively it wasn't perfect, and certainly the turnovers hurt. But your first 4 drives went for touchdowns. Then you threw 1 3 and out in there, and then you had a touchdown on your next drive. So 5 of your first 6 offensive possessions did go for touchdowns. You played your best game. You are making improvements. I think it would be difficult to say you're not making improvements on defense. And you've still got an opportunity. And as you look at this, and this is a bit homerish, I will grant you, but I don't think it's unreasonable. A bit homerish, not unreasonable. Does Ole Miss look like a world beater after Kentucky? No, they couldn't block Kentucky at all, and they got beat on their home field. Like, that game is still difficult, but it looks less difficult today than it did on Friday. And then you look at Vanderbilt, they're Vanderbilt. You look at Arkansas, they're not great. Texas A&M's not a world beater either. Oklahoma has really struggled on offense and was quite fortunate to get out of Auburn with a win. Like, those are not world-beating teams. LSU can match up with those teams on any given Saturday. Alabama looks tough. That's going to be a difficult one. Trying to stop Jalen Milroe is going to be very hard. But LSU has a shot here to play some really meaningful football in late November. And they did their part this week to make improvements, to stay relatively healthy, and to get to that bye week playing better than when they started the season. And Brian Kelly's teams have all gotten better as the season's gone on. Last year's offense was way better in November than it was against Florida State. The team that lost Florida State in the Superdome in New Orleans was not near the team that beat Alabama 2 months later. There has been improvement steadily with every team of Brian Kelly's throughout the year, and I would expect this one to be no different. So if you can keep taking those baby steps, keep improving, you can be in the mix. If they can go out there on a Saturday night in Death Valley and handle Ole Miss, all of a sudden it is not misguided for us to start talking about whether or not this team can make the playoffs. I would tell you right now, as I sit here on September the 30th, that LSU does not look like a playoff team to me. The margin of error is too small. The defense is outmanned at times. And I think that they have multiple losses left on their schedule. That's the way I feel today. But if you start looking at the games one by one, and you look at the steady improvement that LSU is likely to make, it's on the table. It's on the table. And that right there in itself is the beauty of this new playoff. In a 4-team playoff, LSU is cooked. They wouldn't be able to run the table and get there. In a 12-team playoff, with that quarterback, that offense, and all your toughest games in that stadium, okay, it's worth kicking around a little bit on a bye week here. They got to get better because they're not good enough right now to be that team. And I don't think they're going to get there, but they can. And they needed to make a statement and play better football on Saturday, and I thought they did that against South Alabama. Final score was 42-10. Solid effort on both sides of the football. And that's kind of our look back at LSU and South Alabama. If you're looking for LSU football content, you can always find it on YouTube. Hunt on LSU is our LSU YouTube channel. It's all LSU football all year round. Recruiting and team coverage. It's only football. If you're interested in that kind of thing, go to YouTube, type in Hunt on LSU, subscribe to the channel, and those videos will populate right there on your home page. Good weekend for LSU. Got the victory. Not a great weekend for the black and gold. A really shorthanded New Orleans team. Could have won a game there in Atlanta. Did not get it done in the end. We'll talk about that coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. I always talk about the full-scale renovations that they do at One Bath and Closets. They're fantastic at it. No project too big, no project too small. They can also handle smaller things, like a tub-to-shower conversion. We use our tub at home because we got the 2-year-old. He's got to take a bath. There's rubber duckies all over the place, balls, got monster trucks in the bathtub. Like we got to use the bathtub. Some folks don't like laying in a tepid pool of your own filth, to quote the great Kramer. If you don't take a bath, take the bathtub out. Put in a gorgeous glass walk-in shower. Completely changes the functionality of your bathroom and the aesthetic of your bathroom. May add some value to your home as well. And you can do it with the folks at One Bath and Closets. Go to the website, onebathandclosets.com. Get that free consultation. Check out the pictures of their great work, the reviews of their great work, and start that process with David Duvall and his team today. It's One Bath and Closets. You can find them online, onebathandclosets.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has back-to-school savings like $16,000 off 25 Ram 1500 trucks. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $16,000 off. All new Bayou vehicles come with a complimentary extended warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
We're Rev Business, a local provider with nearly 90 years of experience. So when it comes to business in Louisiana, we know that personalized service is key. And we're here to go the extra mile with all fiber solutions that deliver what every business needs: reliability and quality. We're not just providers. We're the local team dedicated to helping you succeed. True partnerships are homegrown. Rev Business, internet, phone, and managed services. Visit us at letsrev.biz.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Talk to Denton Day coming up an hour from right now on National College Football Stories. Big fun day in the Southeastern Conference on Saturday. It was great football watching for those that were parked on the couch for about 8 hours. We'll talk about that, including my picks against the spread in 30 minutes. But right now, let's talk Saints and Falcons. I was prepared to come in here and tell you just how impressed I was that the Saints were able to get that win in Atlanta. Like, when you consider what they were up against in that game, you start the game with no Eric McCoy and no Cesar Ruiz. And then you start to look at the guys you count on to make plays, and Olave's banged up from a practice injury, and Kamara's got apparently broken ribs and a hip pointer. And then you look to the defense, and DeMario Davis is missing his first game due to injury ever, and you don't have Tyrann Mathieu in the middle of that game. Taysom had gone out. Like, you were a mash unit. And to find a way defensively to keep the Falcons out of the end zone and to do enough on offense to get the points on the board to take the lead with a minute to go was so impressive to me, understanding what you did not have on the field. And then one tough call on the pass interference, and you've got a pro kicker in range, and he rips your heart out. And it goes from, to me, an incredible organization win in the division, on the road, shorthanded, going into a long week. Man, it would have been huge. And it gets plucked away right there at the end on the longest kick of Koo's career. Just an absolute backbreaker of a loss for the New Orleans Saints. And there are a number of things that you could have asked to go a little bit differently and you win that game. First of all, Rashid Shaheed. People muff punts all the time. I'm not going to go nuts about muffing a punt in a vacuum. You simply cannot, under any circumstances, try to field a punt over your shoulder inside the 5-yard line. Like, I'm okay with football players muffing a punt or dropping a pass or maybe getting a holding penalty on a tight play or a pass interference, even a Debo's pass interference that gave him 30 yards at the end. Those types of mistakes I can live with. I cannot live with a punt returner trying to catch the ball over his shoulder at the 3. That cannot happen. It is so avoidable, so easily avoidable, and it's unacceptable for a guy to put himself in that situation. I was listening to the radio broadcast at that point. We were coming home from church, and Deuce was on the call, and he said, look, you put your heels on the 6, and if it goes over your head, it goes over your head. You cannot back up and try to catch that ball. Just inexcusable. And you hand the Falcons a touchdown they did not deserve. And then you get an unfortunate break there on the screen pass. Atlanta did a really good job of blowing it up. They got some pressure on the outside where Carr was looking to throw it, and they got pressure coming in Carr's face. So they were in two places they were supposed to be. And instead of, the ball getting tipped and going straight down into the ground, it gets tipped straight up in the air, and the guy catches it and runs it in for a touchdown. That's good play by Atlanta and bad fortune for New Orleans that the ball just happens to do that. And those are the only 2 touchdowns the Falcons are able to muster. And no one has lost a game in the NFL with scoring 24 points on offense and not allowing the opposing team to score a touchdown offensively since the Saints did it in the early 80s. This just does not happen. And it happened on Sunday. And it is a gut-wrenching loss for this team that scrapped and fought and clawed to get it to a lead with a minute to go with a MASH unit out there on the field. Alvin Kamara, I cannot say enough good things about Alvin Kamara. I still question a significant financial commitment to him for the next 3 years. And significant is subjective. I understand that. We'll see if they get an extension done, what that looks like. However, that's for another day. Today, you're talking about a guy who isn't happy with his contract situation, who showed up to camp, who showed up to practice, who's taken a beating every single week because the Saints are committed to running the football, who is playing hurt, taking shot after shot after shot, and producing. He's out there apparently with broken ribs, 19 carries, and he made 7 catches, 26 touches for a guy who's taking shots with broken ribs. I cannot say enough good things about him in this day and age where players are holding out and demanding trades and all that kind of stuff. For him to be that committed is amazing to me and deserves a ton of praise. And I thought his touchdown was going to be the one that did it. And unfortunately, the Saints weren't able to hold. There was a lot made of Dennis Allen's decision to go for that 4th and goal from the 7. You were down by 6. It was getting late. And you'd driven it down there. You'd gone 11 plays to that point. That was the 12th play of the drive. And you had the ball right there at the 7-yard line, down 6, 4 minutes to go. I probably would have kicked the field goal. But this is one of those situations where most talk radio guys will get up here and make a definitive, declarative statement on opinion, and that's probably the best for radio. But it's just not how I'm wired. And I don't think there was a right or a wrong decision in that spot, because if you take the field goal, yes, you cut it down to 3, and then you kick off to Atlanta, and you got to trust your defense. If you get the touchdown, you take the lead. If you don't get it, you've got them pinned back, and you can potentially get field position, and that's what happened. So, like, it didn't go horribly wrong. Yes, they didn't get the 7 yards, but Atlanta took over, immediately went 3 and out, and you got the ball back with plenty of time and used that field position advantage that you had created to go get the touchdown. So it did not work, but you did leave more time on the clock. And this is the uncomfortable thing with NFL games, because the kickers are so freaking good that it doesn't take much to get into their range. You really only have to get to like the 40-yard line, and most kickers are going to be pretty money from there. It's not a gimme, but if you hit 57-yard field goal is a far better chance to make it than miss it. Far better. 57 yards. That's crazy. It was not the case 15 years ago. It is now. And so when you leave time on the clock in an NFL game, like, it almost takes nothing for a team to go down there and get you. And it took one penalty. It was one 30-yard penalty. That was all they got. And Atlanta threw up the white flag and was like, all right, 30-yard penalty. We got the ball on the 40. We're good. And they were good. So I didn't necessarily think that Dennis Allen blew it there. I didn't necessarily think that Paulson Adebo blew it with the pass interference call as he's trying to make a play there. Can't let him catch it. It's just a back-breaking loss in a game that you thought you were going to win right there at the end. And that's going to be a tough one for the Saints to get over. And you literally have as bad a turnaround as you could have. I guess it could be a Thursday night game would be worse, but going to Kansas City is as bad as an assignment as you can get. And that's now what the Saints are up against at 2-2. They were the toast of the league through 2 weeks, and now it just feels a lot different. And that's the way things go. It's a week-to-week league, and this week it feels pretty lonely in Saints land.
Yeah, I agree with you on pretty much everything. The only thing, one of the things that was interesting to me was while the Saints, the defense was incredible, they held them to, they didn't score a touchdown, but one of the weird things was the pass rush kind of seemed to struggle a little bit against the offensive line for Atlanta, who are down a starter as well. So that was kind of surprising, but great play. Peyton Turner made a play.
I couldn't believe it when they said his name.
I mean,
I could not believe that.
Yeah, that was pretty cool to see. And I know Paulson Adebo, a lot of people are going to be talking about his performance, and they targeted him all game. They threw at Marshawn Lattimore one time, I think, the entire game. They just went into Debo the whole game. He had 3 pass deflections. He had the interception. He did those PI calls, but overall, man, like the cornerbacks, when they get targeted that much, like, it's so hard to win.
Well, Debo is good because he's physical.
Yeah,
it's part of his game. He's not like, Deion Sanders, who's got speed and he can just catch up to everybody in coverage. He's a physical corner. That's what makes him good. And when you're a physical corner, you're gonna get flagged a little bit. And again, like that's what I'm talking about. Like, I can live with that mistake. It's a mistake, and it was part of the reason you lost the game. I cannot live with Shaheed going back there and trying to catch a punt.
Right.
I can live with a corner trying to play down the field, 30 yards down the field, and trying to get involved and break up a play, and you draw a flag. You knew the game you were in big trouble at that point, but like, there's not really another option. You can't just let him catch it. I mean, so it's just tough. I don't have a ton more like insightful things to say other than that would have been such an amazing win to go to 3-1. And you look at it and you understand how difficult this start is. And you got at the Chiefs, the Bucs looked great. Broncos don't look very good, so that one you would hope to get at home. But then you got to go on the road to L.A. and it's just, I mean, that one to get that division game won would have just been massive for New Orleans, especially considering who they were. I mean, there was a point out there in the second half where you've got Bub Means out there playing at wide receiver because Olave's banged up, and you're trying to give the ball to Jamal Williams, who looks like he's wearing cement shoes. And I'm like, how are they even going to move the ball? And then Kamara came in and banged up and all was just pounding away. And Carr made some throws when he absolutely had to have it against a shoddy offensive line. And he found Olave, who made a big play even though he was banged up, and fouled Shaheed for some chunk yardage. And they held it together with duct tape and just about got to the finish line. But that's just really difficult to do in the NFL. I mean, you had JT Gray was out there playing defense. He's a special teams guy. It was just crazy. They almost got that thing done.
It just goes to show the how small the difference between a win and loss is. The Falcons could easily be 0-4 right now. If Saquon Barkley catches that third down with the Eagles game, they win. And if Rashid Shaheed doesn't go back to the 2-yard line and try to field a punt, they lose that one. So they could easily be 0-4. And it's just man, that's such a tough way to lose.
I mean, look, it's y'all know I'm a college guy before an NFL guy. Everyone is well aware of that. But there is no denying the quality of the product in terms of competition that the NFL puts out there every single week. Like, most college football games are runaways. Almost no NFL games are runaways. I mean, you got this kind of stuff every single week. And even when you're talking about teams that don't have their best guys, still, you're able to go out there and put that
the fact that Willie Gay goes down early in the game, he's your replacement for DeMario Davis, and then the defense still doesn't miss a beat, really, when you're down two your linebackers. And one thing I'll say, though,
they had a guy out there, and I don't know who it was.
Yeah.
I'd never heard of. I was like, I don't even know who that is. I covered it.
I think I'm trying to find the box score. I think it was it DeMarco Jackson?
That's it.
Maybe. DeMarco Jackson.
And now that I hear that, Ross writes about him. Ross wrote about him a bunch, and I edit all.
And he wasn't bad. He
so.
really wasn't. So that just goes to show the depth of the Saints have on defense. But I will say one thing about next week with the Chiefs. Obviously, going into getting a win in Arrowhead would be a miracle at this point. But the Chiefs haven't looked great through this year. They just gotten wins. So I'm not going to say that the Saints have no chance. They're going to have to play almost a perfect game probably. But I'm not counting out the Saints completely just because of the Chiefs and their history. But they haven't looked good this year.
I'm fired up. We'll be watching that game at LeBears on Monday night. So make plans. Come on out to LeBears and watch the Saints and Chiefs with us. There inside the ESPN Bet Sportsbook. All right, when we come back, there was one game that got away from somebody in the NFL, and that was because the former LSU Tigers playing pretty well. Give you some crazy Jaden Daniels numbers when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is the website. Jonathan Carbo and his team right here in Baton Rouge. They are fantastic to work for. Those of you that are business owners, you've got an insurance broker. How many times have you gone to Google to review them? That doesn't happen a lot. It happens a lot for Highland Insurance Group. 100+ Google reviews of an insurance brokerage. That speaks to the quality of the customer service and their expertise in the field. It's the Highland Insurance Group. Whether it's property and casualty or your group employee benefits, Highland Insurance Group is your one-stop shop. There's still some disturbances there in the Caribbean, potentially into the Gulf. Make sure your insurance coverage is right. The time to think about that is not when the storm has already blown through, not when the car accident has already happened, not when the cyber breach has already occurred. The time is now. To evaluate your insurance program, get the Highland Insurance Group involved, and they'll help you out. They've got markets for everything that you could possibly need here in South Louisiana, where, unfortunately, insurance is necessary. It's the Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com, HighlandIG.com.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
I sat down at my desk this morning and I just started scouring the internet for Jaden Daniels statistics, and there are a lot of them, and they are out there. I kind of boiled them all down into one piece at LouisianaSports.net, but it's been an unbelievable start for Jaden Daniels. Obviously, last Monday night, he put the world on notice. Monday Night Football outduels Joe Burrow, and then he followed that up for an encore on Sunday, just smoking Arizona, 42-14 out west. The Commanders haven't punted since week 2. They're the first NFL team since 2000 to score on every drive for 2 weeks. I mean, they are just absolutely cooking. Jaden Daniels is completing 82% of his passes through 4 weeks. That's a record. And the only 2 guys in the history of the league that are close to that are Tom Brady in 2007 and Peyton Manning in 2008. In both of those years, those guys won the MVP. He's got 4 rushing touchdowns, 1 in every game. And the only quarterbacks in their history to do that to start a season are Robert Griffin III, Cam Newton, and Anthony Richardson. Washington has scored 30 points in back-to-back games for the first time since 2017. That was 7 years ago. All the while, he's rolling up all these numbers, and he's not turning the ball over. He had 1 pick yesterday, but through 4 starts, he's been awesome. He's not turning the ball over. I saw this stat on Twitter. He was pressured on 13 dropbacks on Sunday. He was 10 for 10 on those 13 dropbacks for 96 yards and a touchdown, and the other 3 he ran for positive yards. He was not sacked in the game. Not 13 times he was blitzed and they picked it up. No, 13 times he was pressured, and he was 10 for 10. It's just child's play for this guy right now. And every single thing that he did well at LSU, he's translated that to the NFL. I told folks last year when I did hits for different markets as the draft was approaching, and I actually did a Washington, D.C. hit as well. And I was like, I don't know how you could do it any better than he's done it this year because, one, he's been decisive and accurate every game. Not like one game he got hot. Every game. He's completing a high percentage of his throws. He completes the deep ball. He throws the check down. He's accurate and decisive. And then on top of that, when something's not there, he's faster than everybody in the college front seven, so he can run and get out of trouble and create positive yards. It's a nightmare for defensive coordinators to have to deal with this stuff. And it's translating to the NFL. There will be adversity. There will be adjustments. It's not just going to be a cakewalk. But his skill set is such that it's very difficult for me to envision him being a bust. It's just very difficult. Because when you make quality decisions, you're accurate with the ball, and you've got the athleticism that he has, it's just hard to derail that. The only thing that really can would be injuries. And he's a smaller guy, and he does run a lot, so hopefully that doesn't happen. But Washington has been calling out for this for decades. Keep in mind, during Daniel Snyder's ownership, they changed team names twice and won one playoff game. It's been a disaster in the nation's capital for decades. And it feels like Jaden Daniels is changing that at this point, and that's really, really exciting. We'll talk to Denton Day about it coming up in 35 minutes. I made a bold statement on Friday that, hey, we're going to have a 5-0 week here and against the spread. That didn't happen. We'll talk about it next.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has back-to-school savings like $16,000 off 25 Ram 1500 trucks. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $16,000 off. All new Bayou vehicles come with a complimentary extended warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial properties. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly...
Kind of boring. I want to change
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. National League playoff race comes down to today's Mets-Braves doubleheader. Game 1 on ESPN2. Atlanta leading New York 3-0 bottom 7. If they split, they claim the remaining 2 NL wildcard spots, and Arizona's out. If there's a sweep, the winner and the Diamondbacks claim those spots. NBA Global Ambassador and Basketball Hall of Famer Dikembe Mutombo has died at the age of 58 from brain cancer. He was one of the most accomplished internationally born players in NBA history. After his 18-year playing career, Mutombo worked extensively for charitable and humanitarian causes. First Take host, Stephen A. Smith.
No matter what you know about him as a basketball player, he was an even better human being. Always was about giving, always was about helping Republic of Congo, along with being a humanitarian for the world. His heart was just huge. It was big. One of the most beautiful, beautiful human beings I've ever known.
NFL, the Patriots are not considering a change at quarterback to rookie Drake May. They are staying with Jacoby Brissett as their starter.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy. Coming up Tuesday, the Bears are sitting at 500, so all good in Chicago, right? I'll tell you why I have cause for concern. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Gulf Coast Office Products, GCOPnet.com, GCOPnet.com. All your printing, scanning, copying needs, Gulf Coast Office Products. Shout out to our guy, Trey Beal. Fantastic people to work for. Any line of work that you're in, they've got clients in that vertical, and they can help you with your printing, scanning, copying needs. It's Gulf Coast Office Products. All right, Friday, at the top of hour number 2, I always pick the SEC games against the spread. And they're on record for everyone to see and enjoy, ridicule, celebrate, whatever the case may be. And I entered the weekend at 23-25 on the season, 2 games under 500. And Beck, you'll recall that I said on Friday, like, I am seeing this board so clearly. Well, actually, I love it.
Actually, we have that if you want to listen to it real quick.
Let's hear what I have to say. Beck, I'm telling you, I think this is going to be a 5-0 week for me.
Oh, yeah?
I see the board so clearly this week. It is truly unbelievable. So that's the confidence that and I don't say that every week.
No, you don't.
I really saw it. I mean, I was looking at it, I was going, man, I got the picks this week. I know this league. I'm an expert in this league. That's why they pay me multiple thousands of dollars every year to come on this radio station and give these picks. So look, this is right in my wheelhouse. So let's see how that actually progressed. The first game that we had was the 11 o'clock game against ABC. On ABC, it was Ole Miss at Kentucky. What I have there. Ole Miss, we think, has a pretty good defense. I think Kentucky might score 14 points. If they score 14 points, all I got to get to is 30 with Ole Miss. Oh, that's child's play. Yeah, Kentucky scored 20, not 14, and Ole Miss did not get to 30. They scored 17 points. So that was a loser there. So the second game was Oklahoma at Auburn. This was my lock of the year. This has all the makings of Auburn in Jordan-Hare winning this football game. I'm all over Auburn here. I think they may win it by 10. Thanks for that. They did not. They were winning by 10 late. It looked like I had it seen perfectly, and then Peyton Thorne throws a freaking pick 6, and they lose the game. It was a pick 'em. I had Auburn. That's a loser. So we thought we were going 5-0. In fact, we started 0-2. What was next? That was Arkansas and Texas A&M. I had the Hogs plus 5.5. That one actually got home. That's a winner. Thank you very much for that. But we're still not 5-0. What came next? It was Mississippi State and Texas. 37.5 was the number. Mississippi State's going to Austin. The line here is 37.5. How in the world am I supposed to take Mississippi State in a football game? Much less against Texas.
Because they're getting 37.5 points?
They could have got 37.5 against the freaking Toledo, and it wouldn't have mattered.
I will say I tried to warn you, hon. I said at the end of the segment, I was like, I don't know. I just have a feeling for some reason. I just don't think Mississippi State's going to get beat by 38 points. And they didn't.
They didn't. It was 35-13, so that's a loser. So we're 1-3 at that point. We said we were going to go 5-0. Did I get the nightcap right? Georgia and Alabama. Bama was catching 1 point there. I think Georgia's defense is great. I don't think they're going to allow Alabama to run the ball very much. Georgia stunk on offense against Kentucky. There's no question about it. And Alabama's still got some dudes on defense, and that stadium's going to be rocking. I just think Georgia's better. And if you're going to give me a pick 'em with Georgia against anybody in college football, home or away, I'm probably going to take Georgia here. So I don't know that Alabama's not ready to compete in this game. I don't know that Alabama's not ready to win a national championship this year. But if you're going to give me Georgia and a virtual pick 'em here, I got to take the dogs. Did I go 5-0?
No, you did not. You went 1-4.
That's not very good, is it?
No, not really. Especially when you're already under 500 for that.
Yeah, well, that's a tough scene. People always say, I mean, why don't you gamble, huh? Why don't you bet on sports? And I go, because I can't beat Vegas. Well, I already know that. You know that.
Okay, but here's the thing. Actually, when you think about it, you've done so poorly that maybe if you just choose the opposite of what you think you should choose, then maybe you'll win.
That doesn't work like that. It's not Costanza season where it's opposite day.
It's opposite
and look,
day.
I was 2 games over 500 last year. Right now, we're looking at 5 games under 500.
Yeah,
we're
are.
24 and 29. That just means it's time for a comeback.
The
We
good
had
news-
September to ease into this thing, and then we cook in October.
The good news is, Hunt, is that Vandy is playing next week, okay? And they're playing Alabama at home. They're
never get
23-point
Vandy games
underdogs. You have to pick Vanderbilt in that game,
There's
Hunt.
no rule that says I have to pick Vanderbilt.
You do,
ever.
actually. You do.
All right, let's talk about some of these games because I think they're interesting. How about this? This is maybe the most interesting stat that I saw from the weekend in the SEC, and it comes in that morning game, Ole Miss and Kentucky. And I went through and looked at Ole Miss's drive charts, and it was startling. They went right down the field on their first drive, and they went 83 yards on 6 plays and took 2:09 off the clock. But it was a great drive. It was a clinic. They went right down the field. Here are the times of Ole Miss's drives after that in this game against Kentucky. 1:37, 2:25, 1:43, 27 seconds, 3:08, 1:41, 2 minutes, 1.5 minutes, 1:52, 1:37. Like, they can't sustain a 3-minute drive on Kentucky. Meanwhile, the Cats controlled the ball. They had a 7-minute drive that produced a field goal. Even on a drive that they went -4 yards, they still ran 1:52, which is longer than most of Ole Miss's drives. But then they had a drive they punted, but they took 6:27 off the clock. Their next drive, they took almost 6 minutes off the clock. They had a drive in the second half that went for 4.5 minutes. I mean, they controlled the game from a time of possession standpoint, and Ole Miss never really had the ball for long enough to do anything. And when the dust settled, Kentucky won time of possession 39-43 to 2017. So they had it 2-1. And that's exactly what Kentucky wanted to do when they got off the bus. They made enough plays late to get it done, and their defensive line was disruptive all day long against Jackson Dart. And when Ole Miss couldn't run the ball, they ran it for 3.2 yards per carry. That's when Kentucky set everybody loose to try to go get Jackson Dart, and he only completed 18 of 27 for 1 touchdown. Kentucky came in there, had a plan, and executed it. They controlled the ball. Ole Miss didn't. They got after the quarterback, and they got out of there with the win. That is a heinous loss for Ole Miss. In the most anticipated season they've had in decades, to come out and lose to Kentucky at home is heinous.
Yeah, that's really tough. I mean, we were 16-point favorite at home, and you can't score more than 17 points. I guess the only – I don't even know if you can say it's a positive is that they held Kentucky to 20 points, but at the end of the day, Kentucky's offense is not good.
Kentucky's offense is the worst in the league.
Yeah, it's really bad. So there's not really anything you can take away from this. And then Ole Miss has got a game next week against South Carolina. So
that's got to be as bad a loss as Ole Miss has had since Eli fell down. It's got to be since 2003. I mean, sure, the Arkansas loss with the big lateral that ended up costing them a shot to Atlanta probably qualifies there, but this was just terrible.
Yeah.
And they'll now come into Tiger Stadium maybe 5-1, maybe 4-2.
You got to go to Williams-Brice.
If you can't block Kentucky, I know a good defensive line in South Carolina. They may not have anything else, but they got a defensive line, and they can wreck you if you don't pay attention. So we'll see what Ole Miss is able to do in that one. But that wasn't all the really interesting action in the Southeastern Conference. The game at Auburn between Oklahoma and Auburn that I thought was a really good spot for Auburn to come in and win looked that way, and then Auburn does what Auburn's done. They can't stop turning the ball over. 5 turnovers in a loss to Cal. 5 turnovers in a loss to Arkansas. And you thought they had cleaned it up, and they take control, and they have a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter against Oklahoma, and they turn it over again. Peyton Thorne throws a terrible pick six on an intermediate route. Oklahoma takes it back the other way, and the Sooners come in there with a redshirt freshman, a true freshman quarterback in Michael Hawkins Jr. He was 10 of 15 in the game. And that's enough for Oklahoma to win because Auburn cannot stop turning the football over. And we'll see when Peyton Thorne moves on after this year if Hank Brown's the guy or if Hugh Freeze has got to dip back into the transfer portal and figure that out. But they don't have a quarterback, and it's killing them. It is killing them. They've been good enough on defense to be undefeated right now. And this is the first time in the history of Auburn football, that they have lost 3 home games in September. And it's not like the 85 Bears were showing up. Not like the 2019 LSU Tigers were showing up. It was Cal, Arkansas, and Oklahoma with a backup quarterback. It is a tough scene right now on the plains of Auburn because they just don't have anybody that can play. I mean, Thorne made some plays through the air. He threw 3 touchdown passes, and Cam Coleman looks the part. He looks really good. Keandre Lambert-Smith has been pretty good for them at wide receiver, but they can't stop turning it over, and that's the problem. I said when I made the pick yesterday, I was like, if they can just not turn the ball over, I think they'll be okay. They were for 3 quarters and then gave it up, and Oklahoma gets out of there with a win. Sooners now 4-1, 1-1 in their maiden voids in the Southeastern Conference.
And
Auburn drops to 0-2.
Yeah, now Auburn's got to go on the road and play a not very happy Georgia team.
Yeah, cranky Georgia team. Auburn's next 3 games are on the road. It's at Georgia, at Missouri, and at Kentucky. And you could see this thing starting to slip off the rails a little bit if you're Hugh Freeze and Auburn. They've got a good recruiting class. That collective is going to try to keep things together, but it's a bad product right now that Auburn's putting on the field, and that's a tough stretch. It was almost unthinkable that they would lose all 3 of those home games before the season started, and now they have. And so you got to try to find a way. Does bowl eligibility mean anything at this point? I mean, here's how do I get to a bowl? I got Alabama A&M, New Mexico. I'm not going to beat Georgia. I don't like their chances at Missouri. Maybe they split Missouri and Kentucky, so that's a 3rd win. You beat Vanderbilt and ULM at home. That's 4-5. And then you got to find a way to beat either A&M or Alabama on the road, and I don't think that's going to happen in Tuscaloosa. So you probably, to get to a bowl game, are going to have to beat Missouri or Kentucky, Vanderbilt, UL Monroe, and Texas A&M. And that 5-7 looks like a real possibility on the Plains. So we'll talk about Georgia and Alabama when we come back on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Evolve Physical Therapy, evolvept.com. Just about all the New Orleans Saints need some physical therapy. I wish they'd come on up here to Baton Rouge and go to Evolve. They probably won't. They'll probably handle that in the facility, which is good news for you because now if you've got some pain, you can go to Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports, see Robbie Bolton and his team, and they will get you back to being your active self. Rehabilitation needs to be hands-on, and that's what you're going to get from the folks at Evolve Physical Therapy. A physical therapist is going to be with you from the time you walk in to the time you leave. They're going to be monitoring your progress, and they're going to make sure you get back to being your active self. That can be a youth athlete, can be somebody middle-aged, can be somebody that's aging, but wants to get back out on the golf course, wants to get back to walking or running every day, just wants to get rid of that pain that's part of your life, whether it's been an accident, whether it's been sleeping wrong, whether you're not even sure where the pain came from. Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports can help you with all of that. They're on Starring near Highland Road. Check out the website. It's evolvept.com. Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports. evolvept.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Congratulations to Roy Barmore from Baton Rouge and Jonathan Bryant from Metry. Roy and Jonathan are the Week 5 winners in our 2024 Pick'em contest, and each wins a Hooters wing party for 10 people. Don't forget to make your picks for round 6 by this Thursday at noon. Weekly winners will receive a Hooters wing party for 10 people, and the first place season-long champion will receive a 75-inch 4K flat-screen TV and soundbar, plus free Hooters wings for an entire year. It's a 2024 College Football Pick'em presented by Hooters.
Got to get a ruling on this back. Was sitting on my front porch yesterday. Myers man was riding his little bike around, and I looked over 3 houses down, and I noticed something that I had not noticed before. Can't swear that it wasn't there, but I'd never seen it before, and I think I would have noticed. There was an Ole Miss flag flying.
Interesting.
2 weeks before the game? I feel like that's a statement right there by the neighbor.
Well,
and
yeah.
I'm a little cranky about it.
Well, it's interesting, too, considering they just lost as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe you just haven't noticed it, but I feel like you're outside pretty regularly, so you would think that you would see it. But
I think they're trying to make a statement with Ole Miss coming to town in a couple of weekends. I'm not having it. So
may have to send them a friendly message somehow.
Billy Madison style.
Yeah.
Probably not.
No, probably not.
Georgia and Alabama back on Saturday night. What a finish to that one. I'll be candid with you. I was in the press box, obviously. Georgia and Alabama were playing at the same time as LSU in South Alabama. And I knew that Alabama had gone up 28-0. I knew it was like 30-7 at halftime. And I just didn't pay attention at all. It was one of those games that LSU was playing where I knew I could write in the fourth quarter to get everything done. And so I was really writing, digging for stats, watching the LSU game, looking up and all that. And I did not pay attention at all to Georgia and Alabama. And so the game ends and we go down to our new studio and they've got a big TV in there. And I look up and Georgia is down like 4 and has the ball moving. And I was like, what happened? Like, I didn't see anybody talking about this on Twitter. Like, they clearly were. I just wasn't paying attention close enough. And I was stunned when I sat down to do the post-game show that this game was as close as it was. I don't recall a game feeling like that between two programs of that magnitude. Sure, there are times where a really, really good team gets down big and comes back to win, but that doesn't usually happen in Georgia-Bama. Like to have that large a comeback in the second half is very, very rare. And Georgia brings it all the way back, takes the lead, and then, as you know, Alabama throws it out to Williams, and he goes 75 yards for a touchdown. Georgia drives it back and gets the interception. It was an incredible game, and I think the biggest takeaway from me with the game is that you can no longer even attempt to suggest that Jalen Milroe is some sort of hindrance to Alabama because he, quote-unquote, can't throw that. Like, and this is hand up. This is from a guy who last year said, watching Jalen Milroe play, that Alabama has the worst quarterback in the SEC. I said that on this show in September last year. Hand up. He's now a real problem for defensive coordinators because, I mean, he was running all over the place in the first half. He ended up with 117 yards on 16 carries, and that surprised me because Kirby has the dudes to try to make that stop. Like, he's got linebackers that can run, safeties that can run, guys that can spy Jalen Milroe and try to take away the quarterback run. And they were completely unable to take away the quarterback run.
He almost had 500 total yards against what most people might consider the best defense in college football.
For sure. I mean, he completed 27 of 33 for 374 yards. No, it's not a thing of beauty when he throws from back there. He looks like to me when you play one of those high school teams that puts their best athlete at quarterback. It's not, the cleanest mechanics in terms of throwing the ball, but he's got a cannon for an arm. He's getting more accurate, and when he's not throwing the ball, he can run it all over you. And Georgia just did not have an answer. Georgia doesn't allow 41 points. That doesn't happen. And it did on Saturday night in Bryant-Denny. And Carson Beck threw 3 picks. He did, 2 of them early, and it was ugly. But he did lead that team back. He had to throw it 50 times to do it, but he threw for 439 yards and 3 touchdowns. I didn't love the last throw that got picked, kind of throwing it wasn't necessary to throw a jump ball there. And if you're Georgia and you're playing Vanderbilt, you can throw a jump ball because you're going to have a much better player out there than Vandy does. When you're playing Alabama and the level of athlete that they've got, that's not a throw you have to make. I would have rather they try to execute something a little bit different there. And so there was some talk when they expanded the playoff that these games wouldn't carry as much significance. And I just vehemently disagree. I mean, if you looked at the environment in that stadium and you looked at the way those players celebrated when they won in Alabama and how tough it was on Georgia, like, that game meant a ton. And Alabama's now got a prime opportunity to go win the Southeastern Conference, which in turn gives you a bye, which is huge. And now Georgia's margin for error is smaller. And I just do not think that having Georgia go on the road to Tuscaloosa and lose a game that late should be a massive negative to them in chasing a national championship. I just don't think that's necessary to call your sport great or your regular season great. The game still mattered a ton. There were still a ton of eyeballs on it. The players wanted it badly. The winner has got a huge advantage here and an awesome opportunity. The loser's back's against the wall a little bit, but they're still very much in it. And that, to me, is a lot more equitable than, hey, you lost a game? Well, you better hope some team from the Big 12 doesn't go undefeated or else you're done. Like that, that just shouldn't be the way it goes. And that would have been the case for Alabama, say in like 2011 when LSU loses. If Oklahoma State goes undefeated, Bama's done. They play one of the best teams of the decade, lost to them in overtime, and you're done. That, to me, is not a requirement for your sport to be great. And we saw 2 awesome programs, 2 awesome teams go out there and put on a show, and the loser is still right there in it, and the winner's got a huge advantage. And I thought it was an incredible football game, and I'm really impressed with Jalen Milroe. Is really the biggest takeaway from me from that game.
What is just, man? I was we were out at a restaurant watching. I was watching the LSU game, and then they had the Georgia game on their TV. And I wasn't fully focused on the Georgia game, but I kept checking over. I saw his score, saw 7-0, 14-0, then 21-0, and then go in the second quarter, 28-0. And I couldn't really believe it. I kind of reminiscent a little bit of the LSU-Alabama 2019 game where LSU goes up 33-13 in the first half.
Yeah.
But still, that was just an incredible performance, man. Kalen DeBoer has got his statement win already in his first year at Alabama, and has really proven to all the people that maybe thought he was going to struggle and losing the best coach of all time was going to cause him to take a step back. It seems like they've stayed right where you would expect them to be, even without Nick Saban at the coach.
Yeah, I think that Alabama's going to be good. It's just not going to be the same. They're not going to sustain that type of excellence year over year. I would be stunned if they were a top 5 team the next 12 years and won 6 natties. That's just not sustainable.
But right now they're right where you would expect them to be.
Yeah, that's where they would be if Saban was the coach, I'm sure. But you got to keep recruiting, and you got to keep winning huge games. And we've seen it kind of slip away from some folks. It slipped away from Dabo a little bit. They fell off. Certainly LSU wasn't able to sustain things at all. So he inherited a really good situation, and he's done a good job. Their signing class is good, and they've won a couple big games early in the season, going to Wisconsin and winning that game against Georgia. But it's a long way to go to reach the Saban level.
It certainly. Yeah.
It's a long way to go. Jerry World is an incredible facility.
It is.
Great place, great venue, good sight lines, fantastic concession stand situation, comfy seats. But I bet Arkansas fans are starting to hate it.
Yeah.
Or may have hated it for a while. They have lost to Texas A&M 12 out of the last 13 times. And now they're not going to play in Jerry World anymore, but it's the same song and dance every time these two teams get together. Arkansas just finds a way to lose the game. It's just been amazing. And they had a lead in this game. They led 17-14 early in the fourth when they kicked a field goal, but they couldn't sustain it. It was A&M just did enough to win it, and Scorton makes the big play at the end with that strip sack, and that's the kind of difference maker you've got to go add in the transfer portal. And A&M got a little fortunate here that the Big Ten sack leader grew up in Bryan, Texas, which is the sister city of College Station, and he wanted to come back home to play from Purdue. But he made a huge play there to sack Taylon Green, to strip the ball and ice this thing for Texas A&M. It's a nice win for Mike Elko. They're a flawed team. Marcel Reed is a developing quarterback, but he's far from a finished product. In this game, he was 11 out of 22 for 163 yards. That's not exactly the most dynamic passing performance, but you know that A&M is going to try to run the ball, and they were committed to that. They ran it 38 times in this game. I said on Friday I thought Arkansas would slow A&M's rushing game down like they did against Ollie Gordon, and they did to an extent. They only allowed 3.5 yards per carry, which is not bad, but A&M controlled the clock, and they ended up making the one big play late to go ahead and win it. And for Sam Pittman in Arkansas, that's a game he really needed to win, because it just gets really dicey after this. You've got a home game with Tennessee, then you got a home game with LSU. You're at Mississippi State, which is one you damn sure better win. And then you got Ole Miss, Texas, before Louisiana Tech, and at Missouri to finish the year. And if we think Sam Pittman needs to win at least 6 games to keep his job, I don't know if 5-7 is going to be good enough. You've got 3 wins socked away because you did go get one at Auburn, but you got to find 3 more. Can you beat LSU at home? Can you beat Ole Miss at home? I don't. They're not going to beat Texas. So you've got Louisiana Tech and Mississippi State. You got to find one more between Tennessee, LSU, Ole Miss, Texas at home, and at Missouri. The good news is they're at home a lot, but it's going to be difficult for them to get there. And I think they've got a pretty good coordinator set up. Their defense has played well, and Petrino's got Taylon Green usually putting up some yards, but they're just not very good. And that showed itself in the game at Jerry World. I don't have a lot on Texas and Mississippi State. Obviously, the Longhorns kind of sleptwalk through that one, and Arch had a bunch of yards, and they pulled away and beat a terrible Mississippi State team at the end. But it was a really, really good day of watching football around the SEC, highlighted, obviously, by Alabama and that win over Georgia. So we'll talk everything in college football with Denton Day. Plus, he's a big Commanders fan. Jaden's putting up sick numbers. We'll talk all that with Denton Day coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. They're a certified Generac dealer, a premier Generac generator dealer. That means they're in the top 3% nationwide in terms of Generac generator sales. Maybe you're a business owner. You've got commercial property, whether you got multiple or just one. You can call Boudreaux's Electrical and get that generator put in. They've got heavy-duty equipment that can power a business and make sure that if the power goes out, whether it's an afternoon storm or even a hurricane that comes through, your power is going to stay on, your business can remain productive. That's a key deal, and Boudreaux's Electrical is happy to help you out in the commercial space. If you're a homeowner as well, get that generator. Give yourself the peace of mind to know your power is not going to go out when that weather comes through or when that guy drives off the road and hits that power line near you. Boudreaux's Electrical Services can help you out with all of that. You can give them a call. 2 different numbers. The first one they've had for 40 years. Down in 985 in Napoleonville, 985-397-1562, 985-397-1562 in Baton Rouge and Gonzales, 225-300-9389, 225-300-9389, or the simple way that I tell you each and every day, BoudreauxElectrical.com, BoudreauxElectrical.com.
There's nothing chill about a hot, sweaty line. Unless you add Mountain Cold Refreshment. Coors Light. Choose chill.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
Bottom of hour number 2, Monday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Gulf Coast Office Products. Each and every week we go to our nation's capital, chat with our guy, Denton Day, all things college football, hosts College Football Overtime for SiriusXM. But we're not going to start with college football because there are other things to discuss in the nation's capital, and that is Jaden Daniels and the Commanders, who apparently have quit punting. They're just out on punting. They gave it up a few weeks ago and hadn't done it since week 2. How are the vibes in D.C., Denton?
They are unlike anything that I have ever experienced. You know, it's funny. You and I talked before. I guess last time we talked was before that Monday Night Football game, and expectations were, I would say, at a reasonable level. He completely blew those out of the water, and then yesterday was the setup for a letdown game because of how he played on Monday Night Football. And what do? The offense goes out there and scores 42 points. It's the first time this team, this organization, has scored 38 points in back-to-back weeks since 1991 when they were the Redskins, Hunt, and they also won the Super Bowl that year. So you would say it's a little getting a little crazy over here in the district.
Is this more amped up than the RG3 early love? Is this a different level?
I would say yes, but I think it's because of the RG3 situation and because people in town view Jaden Daniels drastically differently. That has nothing to do with football, by the way. It's more of the non-football things as to why people gravitate a little bit more towards Jaden Daniels. And then, of course, when you actually watch him play football and the things that he is doing it at this level this soon, I would say it's a little more hype. And, when you go 16 consecutive drives resulting in points, that's historic kind of things going on here. So I would say the hype has exceeded that of what it was with Robert.
What has impressed you the most about Jaden through the first 4 games?
How nothing bothers him. Like, he went out and threw an interception, and he came right back like it was nothing. Because that was the first big test, right? We've been seeing all these things, like what's going to happen when he throws an interception? What's going to happen when there's any bit of adversity? How's he going to handle it? And he's the exact same guy. His ability to just stay on that same level, despite the success or the mistakes, that has been easily the most impressive. This young, being that kind of guy, it's awesome to watch.
It has been really, really special, and we hoped that would be the result as he departed Baton Rouge, but you never really know. Teams will adjust, and he'll have to do the same thing, but he's gotten off to as good a start as anyone could have possibly hoped for there in Washington. So it's been a lot of fun for us to watch down here in Baton Rouge. Let's talk some college football. Your biggest takeaway from Alabama and Georgia is it was an instant classic for sure.
It was an instant classic. The biggest takeaway is that Kalen DeBoer is right for that job, right? Like, not that I really doubted he was right for the job, but filling in for a guy like Nick Saban, and your first SEC test is going to be against the now big bad dogs of the SEC in Georgia. And the way they started that game, like, you could nitpick a little bit and say, well, they did kind of blow a 28-0 lead, and that's totally fair, but punching Georgia in the mouth the way that they did, that validated all of the thoughts and reasonings as to why they went out and got Kalen DeBoer. I was really impressed with the way they handled it. And then this 17-year-old is insane. I mean, Ryan Williams should be doing earth science homework, and he's catching one of the best touchdowns that we've seen all season, going for 177 on the dome of one of the best defensive teams that we've seen in the past couple years, just the program in Georgia itself, right? So that was a really impressive win for Alabama, and I would imagine that those of you that are in that SEC area are kind of rolling your eyes. Like, we thought with Saban getting out of here, they would fall off the mountaintop, and it seems like at least for the first 4 weeks that is not going to happen.
Did you learn anything about Georgia in the game on Saturday night?
I thought the way they fought back was really, really impressive, but unfortunately the thing that I probably learned the most was that Carson Beck he's a good quarterback. He's not great, and he's certainly not a superstar. There was a lot of hype with him coming into this year, and I think a lot of that was just because, one, there weren't a lot of great quarterbacks as you looked at the college football landscape prior to the year starting, and then two, he's surrounded by a lot of talent in Georgia, so you naturally going to think of him maybe a little more highly than you should. I think he's a good quarterback. I don't think he's Stetson Bennett. I don't think he's some of the guys that Georgia's had there. I don't know that he's going to go out there and win you a football game in a tough environment on the road. That's probably the biggest thing that I learned from that on their perspective.
I haven't talked about the Big 12 today, so a quick question on that before we zip back into the SEC. Arizona gets a big win at Utah. They're 1-0 in Big 12 play. Utah drops its first Big 12 game, and then you kind of feel like Oklahoma State may have eliminated itself with their second loss. They go on the road and get smoked by Kansas State 42 to 20, and K-State's now 1-1 in Big 12 play. Who do you like to win that conference?
It was Oklahoma State at the beginning of the year, but I've been stunned. Maybe one of the biggest surprises this year, Hunt, has been that they can't run the ball, at least not the way that we expected them to run the football. I thought in the beginning of the game this weekend against Kansas State, Ollie Gordon was having the best start to a game that he's had, and then I don't know if they forgot to give him the ball after that or if Kansas State just made great adjustments. They can't run the football. So right now, this is Kansas State's conference, I think, to win, unless Cam Rising gets healthy. But Cam Rising, like, you could convince me that I'll see Bigfoot before I see Cam Rising play again. The way that this has been managed and handled, and how we think he's going to play every single week and then he doesn't play every single week. It's been very, very odd. And you can kind of stun one or two people the first week with mini Zach Wilson, but as the season has progressed, as you have seen more and more of him, you see kind of, like, again, fine quarterback, not a great quarterback. Like he was 20 of 40. 20 of 40 against Arizona. They didn't put up any sort of real legitimate offense. So right now it's Kansas State's conference to win unless Cam Rising gets healthy.
Nobody's talking about Penn State. They took care of Illinois 21-7 back on Saturday. They're undefeated. They've got a bad UCLA team coming to Happy Valley this week before they go out west to play USC the following week. But they're undefeated. They generally take care of the teams they're supposed to beat and then don't show up in the big spots. But do you feel like they're a likely playoff team at this point?
I would say yes, they're a likely playoff team. I would not feel great about them in the playoffs unless I see a crazy performance from Drew Aller. I was hoping that was going to be this weekend. Like, Penn State can run the football. We know that. They could do it last year. The problem was, what happens when somebody puts 8 in the box? Do you trust that Drew Aller is going to quickly make a good decision and then make big-time throws? I was hoping we would see that this weekend because I do like Illinois. I think that's a very good quality team. Certainly not like your Ohio State or Oregon in that conference, but I think it's a quality team. And to see kind of more of the same of what we saw last year, which is we're not going to really have Drew Aller be the main factor as to why we're winning these games, was a tad bit alarming. Now, their schedule is a bit easier comparatively to what it's been the past couple of years, not having to play Michigan. They don't have to play Oregon either. But when they go on the road to USC in 2 weeks, that's going to be a big test. Again, I want to see Drew Aller go out there, put up some impressive numbers, but more than anything, make some impressive throws against a good quality opponent.
You're probably going to have to score to beat Southern Cal. That's just my guess from watching those guys. I don't know that you're going to be able to beat them 21-7 like you did Illinois. So we'll see. Back into the SEC. How bad a loss was that for Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss?
Oh God, it was awful. Oh, it was so bad. Oh my God. I mean, that is probably the worst loss that you're going to see in college football this year. It's not even that Kentucky, I don't think, is a bad team. I think their defense is actually really, really good. But it's that if you're Ole Miss, you were supposed to benefit the most from a lot of these changes with the 12-team playoff, with a slightly different way of scheduling in the SEC to where you're not just facing giant after giant every single week, but you have to beat Kentucky. Like, that's one of the programs where at the beginning of the year, your schedule comes out and you say, all right, this is a definitive W. And now you look at the way their schedule is going to line up. They don't have to play in Alabama, which is great, but you're on the road against South Carolina, and then you're on the road against LSU, home against Oklahoma in back-to-back weeks. Oklahoma's, I mean, I guess they're okay. Their quarterback situation is still kind of yucky, but that was a game that you have to win because you can only take so many losses on your schedule, which means you probably have to beat LSU, Oklahoma, and Georgia the rest of the way here, which is a really tough spot to be in. You kind of wasted your mulligan, if you will, on Kentucky, and that was not a good thing for Lane Kiffin.
Auburn opened the season with 5 straight home games, and they went 2-3. Are you surprised in Hugh Freeze's second year that they can't get out of neutral?
Yes, a little bit. I have like a weird relationship with Hugh Freeze because he coached at my alma mater, Liberty, as that was kind of like his get back in the good graces of everybody, and we'll kind of forget about some of the stuff that was buried at Ole Miss and, hey, look how good of a coach I am. But them not being able to beat Oklahoma when Oklahoma did not have a trustworthy quarterback. And, I thought Peyton Thorne played okay, but it is very stunning to me that Hugh Freeze, who was able to find a quarterback in Malik Willis at Liberty, cannot find a quarterback at Auburn. Liberty's a nice program. They don't have the resources of Auburn. The fact that he cannot find a quarterback is stunning. And if you're going to keep trotting Peyton Thorne out there, you're going to keep trotting out or getting, rather, the results that you got this weekend and the other 4 home games that they had to start the season.
Didn't always enjoy our chats. Thanks, man. We'll talk next week.
Appreciate it, man.
He's Denton Day, SiriusXM, college football overtime. Always talk a little Jaden Daniels with him as well. Things are going well in the nation's capital right this very minute. All right, we'll come back and close things out. It's a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, avssla.com is the website. Check out their Instagram. I tell you that every single day, but it's just got great information and great examples of the type of installations they can do at Audio Video Security Solutions. The Instagram handle is at @avss_BR. You can also find them online at avssla.com. if you're one of those folks, you've got some iffy Wi-Fi in the house, and sometimes you go to this room or that room and can't quite stream things the way you want on the television or get the internet you need on your phone. There's just spotty Wi-Fi, different places. Just boost the signal. Mesh Wi-Fi. Audio Video Security Solutions is happy to help you out with that. They do it all the time. If you're someone that works from home, or you've got a guest room perhaps that doesn't stream as well because it's far away from them, no, just boost the Wi-Fi signal all over the house with Mesh Wi-Fi. That's something they're happy to help you out with at Audio Video Security Solutions. I'll tell you this, they're the People's Choice Award winner for the best vendor at the Parade of Homes earlier this year, and that's because they're awesome people. Mitchell Fisher and his team, they're a local company right there. The customer service is fantastic. We have experienced that in the Palmer House firsthand. This is Mitchell's cell. This is how you start the process. You call him on his cell phone. It's 225-439-7920. Again, 225-439-7920. It's Audio Video Security Solutions, avssla.com.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
At Atmos Energy, our smart choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Gulf Coast Office Products.
.104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and Shell are excited to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Tiger Stadium with our Draw to 100 sweepstakes. We're giving you the opportunity to join in the VIP-style celebrations on October 12th for the Ole Miss game. Sign up today at 1045ESPN.com. We'll live stream the drawing on October 10th, and the 100th name drawn will win Stadium Club seats, sideline passes, and autographed memorabilia. It's the Draw to 100 sweepstakes presented by Shell, the Rhythm of Louisiana.
Absolutely electrifying postseason baseball right now in Atlanta, Georgia. The Mets and Braves playing 2 games that are being made up because of the hurricane that came through last week, and they weren't able to finish their series. The Mets have to win one of the 2 games to make the playoffs against Atlanta. The only way they don't is if they get swept. Well, they were down 3-0 entering the 8th inning, and the Mets put up a 6 spot in the 8th inning to take a 6-3 lead. Brandon Nimmo hit a huge home run into right field to kind of cap that and put the Mets up 6-3. Edwin Diaz comes in throwing 100 miles an hour, and the Braves knocked him around. And Ozzie Albies with 2 outs in the 9th inning, and the Braves trailing by 2 hits a 3-run double to give the Braves the lead in the bottom of the 8th inning. It is now 7-6 Atlanta. If the Braves can come out and close it in the bottom half, the Mets will have to win tonight in Atlanta to make the playoffs. Just incredible drama. And if you're a fan of Barstool Sports and you know who Frank the Tank is, he may break the internet if this doesn't go well in the next 5 hours. And I'm kind of hoping for that, because that content would be electrifying. You a Frank the Tank fan?
Yeah, I'm a New Jersey Devils fan. So
You're a what?
New Jersey Devils hockey team.
How long have you been on this show?
Maybe 2 years. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned it before.
I'm pretty sure you haven't.
No,
I
have.
know if you were a fake New Jersey
No,
Devils
you know what?
fan.
No, you know what? I have, because we've talked about Frank the Tank before, and I have mentioned how I'm also a Devils fan. And I'm not a fake fan either way.
Fan?
Because me and my brother used to play, there was a, so you remember the NFL Blitz game?
Yeah.
There was an
NHL
equivalent.
Hits.
Yes, we played that whenever we were like 10 years old, and we always played with the Devils because they were really good. And we fought, and so I've been a fan of them ever since then.
Can you name 3 New Jersey Devils right now?
Jack Hughes and his brother Luke Hughes. Luke Hughes, one of the best defenders in the NHL, and then they've got their backup center is also really good.
But we don't know his name.
No, I do. It's just taking me a second.
It's just
to think
taking a second.
Okay, you're gonna make
Can
fun
I
of me.
get a ruling on this?
No.
I'm thinking this is fake fan.
Yeah, I'm not.
I
okay.
don't have a good enough reason, because we played as the Devils in a hockey game on video games.
I follow their seasons. I do. I don't watch all their games like the Cubs, but I do follow how well they're doing, and I try to keep up with them.
They say you're Nookie says you're Putty. David Putty, are you a face painter like David Putty?
No, I'd not go that far. But
Devils, the Devils.
I wanted to try to go to a game. I went to New York last year, but didn't make it. But
didn't make that happen.
Yeah.
That's a bummer. I had a buddy that was up in New York this past weekend and saw Skeens pitch. He was really bummed when they took him out after 2 innings.
Yeah, what was?
But,
I guess it was just the innings.
Yeah, it's
limit,
just
or-
like the Cubs
yeah.
didn't pitch him in Naga yesterday because, like, why? Who cares?
Right.
It doesn't matter. There's the risk reward there is not very good. So, back Devils fan. I'm gonna submit that for further review. We'll see if we can figure that if that's true or not. Did want to mention before we get out of here that basketball got a commitment. LSU basketball. Mozzie Mosley. And I believe I'm saying that right. It's spelled M-A-Z-I. I watched his YouTube highlight tape, which, by the way, the longest YouTube highlight tape I've ever seen from a high school player of any sport. 44 minutes on YouTube of highlights of Mozzie. But the only I couldn't find an interview to see what his name was. I found when he scores, the PA guy in his home gym says Mozzie. So I'm going to go with the PA guy in his home gym that knows it. So we're going to go Mozzie Mosley. He's 6'5", really thin, like 165 pounds. Like he needs to add weight, but he's a talented scorer. I watched a lot of the tape. There's a lot of it, but I watched a lot of it. Very comfortable driving both ways. Does a lot of his scoring around the rim. Shoots it a little bit, but a lot of attacking from a 6'5" wing. We know that Matt McMahon likes his long and athletic wings. Tyrell Ward was in his first class here. Victorious Miller absolutely fits that bill on this team as a freshman, and Mosley is the second commitment in this class. He joins Matt Gilhool, who's a big 6'10", kind of long stretch 4 type player. And Mosley is the top 100 guy, number 60 player in the country, according to 24/7. He's from California, but he is transferred to Montverde for the last year of his high school career. So he'll play on that kind of all-star type team. Ben Simmons went there as well.
I was going to say, any thought on the President's Cup before we get out of here?
I mean, I'm glad that the USA won.
Right.
I think it got a little closer than we thought it was going to after they whitewashed them 5-0 back on Thursday. I'm one of the guys, like, I'm okay with the President's Cup it is. A lot of people hate it. They think they should let the women play to give it a little bit of spice because USA's won 9 in a row. I think that the international team would have a chance if they had their live guys, but those guys decided to go take the cash and they're not playing. So it's just a tough spot for them to be in.
The Tom Kim drama was good.
A little bit of drama with Tom Kim. Those guys running off to the tee box a little bit early, thanks to Captain.
And then the slow play. Everybody always talks about how slow he is.
Very slow. But I mean, look, Xander and Cantley are slow
you
too.
can't.
Cantley is a savage. I do not understand how he's so good in the Ryder Cup and the President's
Cup,
and he's nowhere to be seen in the majors.
It's just like Ian Poulter. It was the same way. He was incredible.
That's true, but like Cantley's so much better than Poulter. Poulter wasn't any good except on putting in the Ryder Cup.
Yeah,
and then
that's true.
But Cantley won the FedEx Cup, but he can't compete in the majors. It's a crazy deal with him. So it's that's my thought on the President's Cup. That's it for us here on a Monday edition of the Palmer Show, presented by Gulf Coast Office Products. If you missed any of it, catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound, you can certainly find us. First 30 minutes were all LSU talk. Talked a little bit about the Saints as well. Jaden Daniels had a great day. My picks against the spread, awful in SEC games. And then Denton Day talking some college football. Matt's going to drive you home next on After Further Review. Have a great Monday. We're back tomorrow, same time, same place on the Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play.